What's going on, guys? It's Justice here and welcome to a Monster Hunter Wilds video. I've not played a Monster Hunter game before. I am brand new to this franchise. I'm going in totally blind as well. I haven't watched any videos on Monster Hunter at all. So at this point in time, I've got about 15 hours playtime in the game. Recording this footage, it was around 12 hours, 12 to 15. And yeah, I've not watched any Monster Hunter footage before. Maybe it came up in my feed occasionally because Monster Hunter Wilds was extremely popular on release and still does have a dedicated following across the world, especially in Asia. And I feel like there's a ton of like Japanese dedicated players because I get like a load of videos now spammed in my YouTube of some insanely good Japanese players on this game. But yeah, in general, I decided to pick this game up because I wanted to play co-op with my mate Luke. And as a brand new player, I've landed on using sword and shield. There is a whole range of weapons in this game. I've landed on using sword and shield. I think it's pretty friendly to a new player from my research. And I feel like it is really versatile. It allows you to use items whilst weapons are still out and unsheathed. So that does make the flow of the game feel a bit easier for a new player. You don't have to sheath it to then use a health pot and things like that. And overall, I just felt the other weapons, some of the other weapons were a bit too slow. There is a really big mix of slow, big hitting weapons and faster, smaller hitting weapons, depending on how you pull off your combos. But yeah, this whole game's all about combos. And I've never played a combo-driven game before, fighters, things like that. So this was a very steep learning curve, and still is. But now that it's starting to click, it's really feeling good. I've seen a lot of people complain about difficulty of the campaign as well, and honestly, if the campaign wasn't like it is, then I probably would have quit the game, or I probably would have just thought, I'm too bad at this game, there's no way I can keep playing this, like it's just I'm not picking it up. Because it took me, as a totally brand new player to this franchise, it took me like about 12 hours to really start sinking in, because you want to try out loads of different weapons, and if you're trying out different weapons, you're also not really getting the combos down. So eventually I decided to just stick it through with sword and shield. But I have just crafted a bow, and I would like to have a bow as a secondary in case I am soloing and I need to shoot like a boss or a creature or a monster down from the sky, just to make it a bit easier for me and not just use like items like flash bombs and things like that. I mean, there is just so many different things in this game to take in. It wasn't just the combos. It was like, okay, finding the weakness points on the monsters and then going into the monster log to read up on what the weaknesses are, what's the best things to take there, what resistances do I want to have, such as against the Ray Dow Wyvern / Dragon, the Lightning Dragon. I needed thundering resistance, thunder or lightning resistance, and eventually, I got one shot by that and I was like, something's not going on here. Like, one attack is just taking me right down to like 0 health. So I went and crafted. That's the first time I actually actively crafted armor, because I was like, you know what, I'm going to need this now as a brand new player. I'm getting hit. I need the resistance. So there's a lot of things. The game does not hold your hand either, though. Like, yes, people are complaining about difficulty. Sure, the difficulty might be new player friendly, but it definitely didn't like hold my hand as such. I had to like kind of figure stuff out as I went along, and just had to really try and navigate through the interface, which sometimes isn't that intuitive. But yeah, once I've got my loadouts down and started to understand some of that stuff, the game is starting to click. And most importantly, the combos, that just took time. That just took game time, just hammering down, getting into muscle memory. I kept trying between mouse and keyboard and controller as well. And I am really motion sickness prone in games. And so there are some good motion sickness settings in this game where you can turn like sway and camera shake right down. You can have the camera zoom out. An improvement, I would prefer to have a greater zoom out, so a bigger FOV on this game. But after speaking to my mate Luke, he thinks that they want to try and create that immersion in the game, and by being closer to the monsters and then being absolutely huge, that creates more immersion rather than being zoomed all the way out. And I do kind of get that. Like, basically you're playing the game, you're never zooming in and out of the game, it's just staying at the same zoom level, and the max is 10 in the game. I'd prefer it to be a bit more though, as a person who's prone to motion sickness, but due to the other settings, I'm able to manage it at the moment. I did try controller though, and I've not played on a controller on games in a long time either. And when you're really used to mouse and keyboard being really precise, going to exactly where you want to look, the controller, I think, was starting to cause me a bit of motion sickness. That combined with performance. My rig is pretty good. I upgraded it over the past year. Luke's is even better. And honestly, it only just about runs on my rig. However, I am playing on 2K, and 2K gaming is extremely demanding, 1440p. You almost need like double the rig as a 1080p player. So in that respect, yes, I am playing on 2K, but it's still a very demanding game compared to lots of other games that I'm playing. Like even Space Marine 2, that released in a really bad performance state. Eventually they fixed it and now it's running beautifully. And the frame generation's working as intended and everything's working really well. But on this game, without frame generation, it would just be unplayable. So yeah, I've got a 4070 Ti Super and a Ryzen 7 5700X 3D or something. I'll put the PC specs in the description below just to confirm that. But yeah, performance really needs to be optimized. The game would feel a lot smoother, and it did crash a couple of times at the start, but that was mostly NVIDIA drivers. But enough on that. Everyone knows, I think, that the performance, that's what's causing the mixed reviews on Steam. Basically, when I was going through the reviews, a lot of the negatives are on performance. So please, 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 Capcom. Dragon's Dogma 2, also made by Capcom on the RE engine, released with really poor performance, especially when going into towns. The CPU bottlenecks were insane, and frames would just absolutely plummet. At least in this game, the frames are fairly consistent between towns and open world. Anyway, it's a very immersive game. The textures are incredible. I'm having an absolute blast. If you are an experienced Monster Hunter player, you're probably going to watch this and cringe and be like, oh my god, what is this guy doing? Yeah, I totally understand that. Like I said, I'm totally brand new to this game. It's taken me some time to really get into it. But overall, I'm just having a good time, right? I'm just enjoying it. I'm sure veteran players out there would love to see other players come to the franchise that they adore and love. And then hopefully this, encourages some people who are really unsure about this game and think they won't be able to pick up the combos, or maybe are starting out and they're just not quite getting it. It did just take me to kind of just push through that learning curve. And it's starting to feel good enough now where it's like, yeah, I'm logging in and I have a good idea about what I'm about to do with the combos and how to approach bosses. Overall, with being a new player, I do take it nice and slow and methodical and make sure that I try and focus on those weak points once I find out what they are and try and dodge. And I'm just starting to get into using block more effectively, but it's still going to take a lot of messing around with my keybinds. There's a lot of settings. Luckily, I had a good mate of mine, Luke, to help me through that. But yeah, honestly, like I was telling my mate Luke, the way they tell the story in this game is absolutely amazing. And it's a great story to follow through and then fight your way through as well. Like, I'm able to follow it all. Most games with lore or whatever, I struggle to follow, but this is so well written. I was not expecting this when I got invited to co-op this game. I expected just a combat-driven experience only, but actually the campaign is really fleshed out. And let me know what you think of Monster Hunter Wilds or the franchise in general, or if you're also blind to this franchise, what you thought about the gameplay here, whether it interests you or not, and why. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.
Even this feature in here, without this, you'd get frustrated. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I jumped off the mountain. Stay.
Ow.
Finish it. Yes.